Hail and welcome to this edition of At Wise Women Weekdays. Like and subscribe if you like what we're about to talk about. You won't know that yet because we haven't started talking about it, but we're getting in there early with a positive motivation. So I'm Claire, the oily witch, and I consider myself to be a wise woman. I've gone through menopause, so I think that certainly earns me some stars on the wisdom front.
Indeed. I'm Natalia. I have wisdom just from my own experience, I would say, and I've known Claire for a good while now. I can vouch that she's a wise woman, and we're going to be talking about nutrition and just Claire is the professional. I kind of have my own views and experiences from longevity, and we're just going to be discussing that in a light and hearty way.
Yes, absolutely, because people are perhaps wondering what to eat at this time of year, and with the supermarket wide ranges available, it's very difficult to know what's actually good for you and what's not, because you can get anything you want all year round. I'd say that's fair to say. And so what we're trying to encourage is some consideration around diet to help your passage through the Christmas season be more comfortable.
Yeah, I would say, and roots. I go for roots at this time of year.
Perfect.
Kind of just grounding, earthy, sort of substantial. I really like to make soups. I'm a soup lady at this time of year. And really have some special ones that remind me of this time of year, and I look forward to kind of eating in the autumn and winter. So
I completely concur with that. Root vegetables are perfect for the soul at this time of the year, and what journeying we're doing, and we're inviting ourselves to be very much in a review process. And so when you're reviewing your year, emotionally, spiritually, physically, to be grounded and held by your food well is absolutely imperative, I'd say, to well-being. And it's in the ground, all around us. Nature's giving us a very clear message there about what we should and could be eating.
Yes, absolutely. That, along with what I love, a certain amount of foraging, with the berries, the bright red berries, that's the blood, isn't it? That's also the root chakra, and just gorgeous. So that's rosehip and hawthorn and those kinds of things.
There's loads of balls around at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I won't cross my legs because the camera's giving that a funny angle. I have a question for you, Natalia. When it comes to making root vegetable soups, or even cutting root vegetables, I have hypermobility, so I don't have particularly strong hands, and one of the things that puts me off, like butternut squash, is the fact that I can't get into them. Have you got any tips and tricks?
I have. I'm the same, so we share this actually. So I love butternut squash soup, and I make that. I roast it with sweet potato and sometimes peppers, to just bring out the flavour. But I buy a small one, the smallest one I can find, so that I can get a handle on, and then I use a big knife, a pointy knife, and just sort of take it down in bite-sized chunks. I used to try and take the whole thing, cut the whole thing across, get the knife stuck in it, then trying to get the knife out, impossible. So just taking it in little chunks, and that's how I attack that.
I've heard, and what I've also done is stuck the whole thing in the oven.
Oh, brilliant!
Just till it's slightly softer.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
And then
That's very good.
Add it in, but the problem with that is making sure that you don't start cooking it, because it's gone the other way for me sometimes when I've been overzealous on the oven front, and I've got kind of overcooked squash for my soup. So I think it's a fine line. So you're saying either go small, I'm saying oven.
That sounds great though. Yeah, the oven, just slightly softening it. I totally know what you mean.
It's really hardcore, isn't it? It's almost like it doesn't want to be eaten.
Yes, yeah, but it's worth it in the end. It has that kind of really sort of rich caramelly flavour, doesn't it?
And that brightness. I mean, we're going on our kind of descent towards winter solstice at this point in the year, and so cutting something open with so much colour and vibrancy is like shining a light into the darkness, really, inside and visually, which obviously we get pleasure from what we see visually, if we can see.
Yes.
It makes us feel better. So we're saying root veg. I'm a meat lover. I make no secret of that. I absolutely love meat. I don't love all meat, and I make sure that I get meat that's been well husbanded, so well looked after. So there's consciousness around my meat eating. I don't buy meat from the supermarket ever. I buy it from local farms where it's been raised well, and also it's had a good life and its life has ended well as well. I don't want it to suffer. And so for me, stews, and I can't stop. Someone gave me some biltong as a Christmas present. Cannot stop eating that. And I know that this harks back to some kind of primordial version of Claire, where I was living off like dried raw bits of meat in some kind of leather pouch, because it just feels so normal. And I adore chewing on dried raw meat. I love it. Perhaps I'm a dog. But
wolf.
A wolf, yes, not a bitch.
So I used to be vegetarian. I know that there's a lot of young people who are vegan. I did some supper clubs that were vegan supper clubs, not because I believe that it's right to be wholly vegan, but I do find it interesting to see how we can replace perhaps dairy. So just as I got older, especially after I had my daughter, I'm a B blood type. I suffer and have done my whole life. It's better now, actually, I have to say, from hypoglycemia. And actually, I was going to talk about just this book very briefly, Peter D'Adamo, who did Eat Right for Your Blood Type.
Dr. Peter J. Adamo.
So, yes. And so he looks into your blood type and beneficial foods for you. And I discovered that actually just certain types of meat, that's lamb, venison, rabbit, is good for me. I've never wanted to eat beef. I don't really like eating beef, and pork. And so I agree with Claire about the sustainability of it. And I might eat meat maybe once or twice a week. But that again will be well husbanded, and I'll really be conscious of that. It will be really a focus in my week as a meal, and I'll really enjoy it when I have it. I find I actually like a lot of vegetables with my meals, whatever it is, and like I said, it changes between summer and winter. My body seems to need that warm nurturing, especially with my stomach. It doesn't like the cold hitting it, and yet I revel in it in the summertime. So I think it's kind of adapting, isn't it, to the year cycle and what our body's asking for.
100%. Cold foods are not for this time of year, ideally. We want warm foods, and we want foods that help with the slow down. We don't want lots of cleansing foods. So citric is very, very cleansing. Certain juices are very, very cleansing. You really want to be cutting back on that. We don't want a system cleanse at this time of year. We want, because the blood has got to thicken and slow to basically cope with the change in temperature. That's what's going on. Mm-hmm. And just the change in vibration as well is slowing down. So 100%, I'm the same. It's like I cannot get enough salad most of the year. I'm a complete rabbit. I was born in the year of the rabbit, and I love salad. You can see I've got a very kind of blood type O diet, despite being blood type A, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But yes, when it comes to winter, I suddenly don't want to eat my salad bag anymore, but I still want lots of greenery. So I eat a lot of kale, and I made yesterday a fresh watercress soup, which was divine because of the oxalic acid in the watercress, gave it a beautiful lemony flavour. Mm-hmm. So it was really, so you can get your kind of lemon if you need that kind of zest in different ways you may not have thought about. Sorrel is very good for that as well, that kind of lemony flavour. Mm-hmm. So Yes, I'm 100% concurrent there. So, warm foods, and what I was saying about blood type is, yes, I absolutely always ask my clients, what blood type are you? And ask them to test for blood type when I'm working out what diet is going to suit them. But then I also get them DNA tested, because then if you can map where they're kind of genetically have travelled across the world, you can work out what their body is going to be more familiar with and able to work with. So the blood type diet gives us 4 different blood types diets, and then you've got all of the other stuff that has to be brought in. So that's why someone like me who's blood type A, who doesn't like a fatty diet, likes a very lean diet with lots of vegetables, can eat some meats. And I'm the same as you. Lamb is absolutely okay. Beef is less okay. Chicken and turkey are probably the better meats because they're the leanest, but they're not good for you.
Really not good.
No, and
Chicken
it's so
definitely not
interesting.
good.
Yeah, whereas I'm okay with chicken and turkey, but I don't feel as much of a gravitational pull as I do to lamb. I've got it going on for lamb and mutton.
Yeah, mutton.
I love mutton, but I don't want to eat goat, and I'm not fond of pork. So it's kind of similar, but I'm 20% Jewish, and I think you've got Jewish ancestry as well. So
yeah, I'm B blood type again. So that's actually it's a small blood group, but most of them seem to be Jewish.
Ashkenazi,
so
probably,
yeah,
which is the Russian.
Okay,
and
yes.
that comes down. So that's probably why we've got the same. We look quite similar. We've got the same kind of health issues, and we both can do vodka. So it's absolutely. So we're talking seasonal eating, blood type diet, awareness of DNA, where you came from, and if anyone that's freaked out about getting cloned from their DNA results, it's a saliva test, and just the benefits far outweigh the fear of getting cloned, I think.
Yes.
Well, some people do, don't really worry about that. They're like,
wow,
I'm like, what do you think they're going to do with your
DNA?
I know.
Jesus.
There'll be an AI version of you out very shortly. But, maybe the world needs more of you. And that's where I think it's important to think about it. Now, you wanted to talk about supplements as well, didn't you?
Just before then, it just occurred to me when you were talking about the warming qualities as well. The spices, really lovely spices at this time. I mean, I'm thinking cardamom and cinnamon and ginger, just
turmeric,
all those really. And again, you were talking about
cumin.
The colour. So the reds and the oranges and
Saffron.
the yellows just are so gorgeous to put into different soups and even salads and. Yeah, I mean, and when I say salads, they make warm salads at this time of year as well, and even a little bit of chilli. I can't handle a lot of chilli myself, but a little bit is really lovely and can really zest up a soup. I might just add that a little bit of a favourite has become Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall's what does he call it? Everything in the fridge soup. So it's basically anti-waste. So anything like ranging from maybe an old head of lettuce, a bit of like a couple of carrots, any type of potato, but then fennel, just all those sorts of things in a soup can make a fabulous soup and just kind of clear your fridge for the next time to have your shop. And just that feeling not wasting things.
Completely with you there, Natalia.
I love that. And so, yes, and I kind of add, I like the fennel flavour in some of those. I actually, when I was a kid, we used to go down through France to Spain in the car, and we were vegetarian. My sister and I were vegetarian quite as kids, so there was nothing in France to actually eat. Except there used to be a big pot that would come out in the evening of a soup dish with potage, and they would just ladle this out as sort of like the starter for the meal. And for me, that was heaven. I mean, I know it's not a kind of very kiddie thing to... lots of kids don't really like that, but for me, after a long day of being in a car, being driven, rattling around, often kind of head out the window and you're frozen to the core, and then you get this warming potage. It was absolutely gorgeous. So I think that's part of my memory.
You're making me really hungry. I can really go with that because we travelled a lot through those
Yeah.
parts as well, and we had a lot of. I love French soup because also
Yes.
they make a clear
Yeah,
soup with the
consommé.
vegetables in
Yeah.
it and things like that. And then there's the Spanish soups,
Yes.
gazpacho and things like that.
Absolutely.
Delicious. We're obviously both really into soup.
Yes.
I hope you are too. But they are really easy to make.
Yes.
So that's the other thing. They can be quick and easy meals that you
Yeah.
can just. I have a hand blender because my children don't like lumps. And so I stick that in afterwards and generally cover myself and the walls in whatever I'm cooking. But it does mean that people will eat them. And also I found a trick with children as well. I'd give them the soup in cups. They're more likely to eat
very
it.
good. Yes, yeah, with
So-
chunky, like chunks of bread and
Well,
lashings
gluten-free
of butter.
chunky
Oh,
bread, which is like
Okay,
not
yes.
chunks of bread,
Okay.
flamming bits of dissolvable crumbly bread. But
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
Better
Infinity
toasted.
food does a good one. We used to be gluten free. In fact, my daughter, who Claire knows really well, also needs gluten free. But kind of Whole Foods food shops have over the years developed quite a good loaf. It needs to be
you just have
toasted.
to live near Infinity Food. All gluten-free bread needs to really be
Yes.
toasted before it's accommodated. And people are getting better at it all the time.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like you were saying about dairy earlier, and I was reading something a colleague of mine from the Healing Collective put up about the fact that she thought she was dairy intolerant. She's 54 years old, and then she started taking milk and cream directly from the cows through obviously a third party, not just her hanging on the end of a cow's teat. But she found that really was very nourishing for her, and I don't know her background, so I don't know if she can have dairy because O's can have dairy, I think. Bees can have dairy.
But would that have been unpasteurised?
That's what I mean.
Okay.
And it's in its rawest format.
Yes.
It's different. And I was just thinking about that with the wheat and the gluten
Totally.
and all this stuff. If you can get hold of heritage blooms, there's probably
Spelt.
all of that. There's going to be less of an issue.
Well, I discovered quite a few years ago that the old grains only have 4 chromosomes in them. The bread we consume in kind of general shops have 40. So that reflects the development of the grain and why perhaps it's so just not good for our systems and so many people get ill. And obviously it's also a build-up of this within the diet, I think, as well. It's not just the bread, it's also biscuits and also pasta. So once you've had a day-on-day kind of portions of this, your body is just way over the top with that kind of element of the food
100%
chain, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
So it's overdosing on it, just like you can sugar, coffee, salt, whatever. It's just your body can tolerate a lot, but when it's ODing on it, and I think...
Well, it can't tolerate a lot, actually, Natalia, because the gut lining is one cell thick. It's called the epithelium. And it has these tight junctions in it. And it's basically, when you have problems, you have lax junctions. So food leaks out from the intestine into the blood supply, into your leaky gut.
Yeah.
And it basically causes inflammation elsewhere in the body. This is why gluten's called a silent killer, because you won't notice that that's necessarily going on because it's cutting through. And the reason it's cutting through is because it's been so over-processed so that it can cope with the quick manufacturing process, because they needed the bread to stretch, because they needed it to prove much faster.
Yes.
They made this hugely sticky protein that would stretch, which is what all of you are going, oh, this lovely stretchy bread, it's lovely, it's so light and fluffy, it's the gluten stretch. And it gets to the gut, and the gut, actually, it's like wallpaper paste. Some people's guts just can't break it down, and then it ruptures the gut lining, it escapes, goes off and causes inflammation. And the horrible thing about it, as with anything to do with health, is your response is entirely personal to you. So that inflammation may show up as depression because there's inflammation in the brain. It may show up in your mouth. You might have gingivitis. It may show up as traditional gut issues, like you've got Crohn's or something like that. It may show up in a different organ. It just, in so many different ways, and it's quite difficult to trace it back. So I think that what I would say is going for more natural every time. And if you eat even one piece, the inflammation kick-off, it's the only food that the body's developed antibodies for. The inflammation kick-off is about 3 months for repair.
Wow.
So you can't just have a little bit and be okay if you've got a problem with it. It's a black and white situation. So you must be all in or all out. And once you're all out, you probably will have to remain all out, which is probably better for you, because of the kind of... there's no half measures with this. It will just go in and just like start the process again. Wow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
It's really kind of concerning, and I think Ireland has more celiacs than anywhere else because of the potato famines. Because what people were doing when they were starving was eating the grains before they were ready, so they did an awful lot of damage to their digestive system, and a lot of us have Irish heritage, so that kind of brings it. It's just. Yeah. It's a minefield, people need more consciousness, but your consciousness starts with noticing how it makes you actually feel. Sure. Does it make you feel angry? Does it make you feel tired after you're eating it? Does it put you in a food coma? I know now if I want to go, if I eat any gluten, I can tell I've eaten it because I literally just want to go to sleep within seconds of eating it. That slump after eating, it's probably gluten.
It's a tough time of year for this as well, isn't it? Because
everything
there's
is gluten.
So much around that is full of gluten, and it's a complete, what would I say, sort of journey. Once you have to face this issue, if you're ill with it, it is an absolute journey to look into the foods that are around and see how much all this stuff is in all our foods, and to build a diet that is out of that. It's quite a big thing, isn't it? I mean, and I must say that I have over years had to deal with this. I'm so much better than I was, and so I do eat what I call naughty things, a croissant here and there, but I do focus on having. If I have any pasta, it will be gluten-free. If I have bread, it will be spelt. I do like sourdough as well, but spelt is the one I kind of think about and go for. And then, personally, I don't eat a lot of sugar because it's actually taken out my sweet tooth, and I'm far less... Sweetness for me is far less desirable than savoury, and I'm very happy with that because I get energy from savoury and not sweet. So it's an interesting process, and actually I'm actually on talking about supplements. I'm actually taking Chinese herbs now, which are incredible. They're renowned for being incredibly bitter and something to kind of get around. But once you do, the thing about our culture now as well is that we've lost the bitter herbs and food elements. So when we try some of this, it's almost off the scale in bitterness. But actually, fairly quickly, if you're open to it, you can kind of
you recover it,
and yes,
absolutely 100. And I would say it is a journey, the gluten-free one. I've been on mine for about 25 years, so it's vastly changed. And also, people are just bringing out replicas with more rubbish in them. So it's kind of like, it's this path that you have to define for yourself of where you want to take it and how far you want to go with it. But it is possible to just eat well without being suckered into all the kind of sugary temptations that are around. And it's not for everyone, and it's fine. It's all about balance.
Totally.
And your body and your decisions about what suits you. It's just noticing, does this actually work for me or doesn't it? Yeah. And I agree with you on the bitterness 100%. The more bitterness we can get back into the diet. The Victorians were really heavy on bitter, the better. And that's why these dark green leafy veg are quite bitter. And we say, dandelion, eat dandelion leaves in the summer and things like that. Add them into your salads and things, and you'll be like, ooh, to begin with. And then you'll be like, ooh, actually. And you'll start craving it just as much as you would have done the sweet stuff, except it's helping your liver as opposed to compromising your liver. So it's a very different thing. So should we talk about supplements quickly?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you want to say about supplements?
So I was just thinking about oils at this time.
Supplements or oils?
As in oil, like oil supplements.
Okay.
Like kind of whether it's fish oil or those. Just because personally, my skin, I've got very fine skin. We share this, you know, like it's super fine. And at this time of year, well, actually January, February, I will even get chaffing around, you know, just from scarves. My skin will start coming off because it dries so much. It's like the earth. It literally like this. All the sort of subtle oils seem to just disappear. So I'm just conscious that fish oils or any oils, flax oils that you might suggest, vitamin E, all that.
Really good for the skin.
Yeah. And hair, I imagine, nails.
Omega-6 and 9. Also, we were talking, I don't think I've done it on here, is putting a little bit of castor oil in the belly button is hugely beneficial.
I've just heard about castor oil. What can you elucidate us on the benefits of that? Like for joints? Or
so castor oil is just very good. If you put it in the belly button, it goes into the system really, really easily, because the belly button is one of our medicinal points, strangely enough. Not really, because where the placenta was. So the castor oil is very good for digestion, so easing digestion, which is what in the past we've known it for, like people consider it a link to constipation and things like that. But it has these huge benefits for skin as well. It makes your skin really supple and oiled.
I'm going to go for the castor oil.
I think it's one of those things where castor oil is probably better for us than perhaps olive oil for some, but some olive oil will be better than castor oil. And it's this, and linseed oil will be better than... You have to work out what is going to suit you, because one size does not fit all. Yeah. And, you know, I used to use olive oil as a moisturiser and on my skin, and I put it in the creams I make, in that magic cream I make, I use olive oil, and it's very, very good. But I find
almond oil, I'm quite...
There we go. Yeah. Almond oil is another one, is really, really good. It's hemp seed oil.
Yes,
all of these things. So... But what I think your point is the fact that we have to make, and that's why eating lots of meat is good at this time of year, because meat comes with fat, so it's a good fat that we want, which helps us to kind of remain it's an emollient, isn't it? It kind of makes us contain our water, helping us to basically be hydrated in these dry winds, which is, and if we feed ourselves from the inside as well as the outside, so you can have these beautiful creams that, you know, I make this one I just referred to, magic cream with beeswax in it, which is brilliant, because then it creates like a penetrative layer, a non-penetrative layer, so it's still breathable for the skin, but it stops the wind chafing and stops all the drying out and everything. So that helps with that.
Some of that.
Because do you find with the lips as well? I find I go through a lip change.
There's cracking.
Yeah. So you have to be careful what you put on around you. So you put the same cream around your lips. Yes. But it's this thing of kind of the change of your saliva, what you're eating, and actually that hasn't happened yet for me, but that's because it hasn't been that cold. No, it hasn't. It's when it starts to get bitingly cold. Totally. I have Raynaud's. Do you have Raynaud's? Like poor circulation. We're just a mirror image of each other. We are twins. So the Raynaud's makes my nose go bright pink, and it hurts all the way up here.
And mine used to get orange spots. Orange, bright orange. Blue lips, orange spots. It's so attractive.
It is, absolutely. And so eating the right thing really helps that body brushing as well.
Yes.
But other supplements for skin would be, I guess... Well, the supplements I really rate are vitamin C. I think is phenomenal. C stands for cure-all. People don't realise that.
Wow.
But C is really good for new skin, fresh skin, clearing things up. It's just brilliant on all levels. So having high levels of vitamin C, when I'm talking high levels...
Your cream? In your
eating
it, right?
I don't put it in my cream.
No.
In my cream I just have... oils and fats, which are really good.
Something's just come to mind. Rose, would that be at all appropriate this time of year, or
if
not?
You feel it,
right.
Yes.
Just thinking of the rich rose sort of. Well, they have.
Yes, I mean I can have rose at any point in the year because I love rose, but some people don't like rose. In terms of essential oils, is that what you're asking me? Properties or the plant?
Yeah, I just thought because when I look around creams, there seems to be quite a lot of rose that is for sensitive skin or nurturing. In fact, frankincense is
frankincense is amazing.
Yeah, that's a general cure-all, isn't it, as well?
Absolutely, but frankincense at this time of the year is particularly frankincense and myrrh. There's no, surprise why it was given at this time of year, because they were probably the most valuable, or they were the most valuable things to receive because of all the medicinal properties.
Wow, yeah.
So I put frankincense in my creams, but I also, lavender, mint, all of these things because of what they do. But in terms of rose, going back to rose, I just don't think there's a time of year where rose isn't relevant.
Right, yeah.
I find rose really good, but rose as itself, Damascus rose is the rose that we use in essential oils. I'm an aromatherapist, and that is £5 a drop because it's handpicked by 10,000 rose petals per bottle of essential oil is £400 a bottle of essential oil for that very reason, picked at dawn when the dew is still on the petals.
Wow.
And then processed a lot. Has to go through 2 or 3 processes to clean it and clear it to make sure it's just the medicine of that plant. And it is really powerful, but you don't need to go to that extreme to get the same kind of kickback for your skincare. So there's plenty of other things like helichrysum is a really good one, which you may know as curry plant. You know, the silvery curry plant, that's helichrysum. That's really good for skincare.
Yes.
I think spikenard's pretty good for skincare. There's lots of different oils, but frankincense for me is...
I love the smell.
Yeah, it's just this time of year is just
beautiful.
Heaven sent.
Yeah.
How corny, but true.
All these puns that seem to come up
I know!
on our programme.
And I was going to say, people want vitamin D as well for skincare as well. That's another one that's very popular for skin. I certainly see it for skincare. So skin is ECD. B to some point as well. I mean, really, I eat a lot of vitamins. I think vitamins are fantastic.
Yes. I need to get back onto them. I kind of get to saturation point when I'm taking things.
And then you stop and have a break, and then you come back to them. Absolutely. Yeah. I take them all the time, but I redouse what I need. So I change my levels according to what's necessary, and I intuit, and your body will tell you what you need when you go to the store. I mean, I don't have loads. I just have what I know I need.
So going back to what would you recommend in terms of the companies for the essential oils or these
who I get my supplements from?
Yeah, just good ones. Because I know you're very specific about that.
Yeah, well, essential oils, I am specific about it. I always have a problem with that. It's passive and specific. But anyway, essential oils, I will go with doTERRA or Young Living or Neal's Yard. And that is because I'm dealing with people with serious medical issues.
Sure.
So I want grade A oils, and I know there's been some publicity about doTERRA recently in frankincense chains in Somalia, like where they get them from. But I would just say that if anyone's lived abroad, then you'll know that the marketplaces aren't like they are here. I'm not excusing them, it's just a different buying process, and we have to respect the different cultures, etc., as long as the product is being harvested sustainably.
Sure.
And no one's getting hurt, and people are benefiting from it, and it's all organic and everything else, and I don't have a problem with that. But Neal's Yard I really rate. In terms of supplements, I like Lambert's, probably better than anyone, and I also do Cytoplan as well, they're very good. The reason I like Lambert's is because with supplements, one can get carried away in kind of thinking we need really posh supplements. We do for certain things, like fish oil. It's incredibly important to get it sourced from the right places, and vitamin E oil as well.
Okay.
But things like vitamin C, which is just straight ascorbic acid, unless you're going for liposomal because you need a softer one, which again isn't that difficult to produce, then something like Lambert's, which is a British brand, which is reasonably priced, is absolutely fine. You don't need to spend an absolute fortune on things that are just... And I'm not one for blends. I like vitamin C, I like vitamin D, I like vitamin E. It's like... and just buying... Like magnesium citrate and things like... There's different types of magnesium. There's different magnesiums for different things. It's not just one magnesium. So you have to be aware when you're buying magnesium, you get the one that's specifically beneficial to you, and you just buy that. And people don't realise it can go down into those levels, and some people have got really fancy packaging, and you go, oh, they must be better because I'm paying 3 times the price, and that's just not simply true.
Sure. But that's why you've got the experience to know that as well.
Yeah, because I'm I've studied vitamins
exactly.
and people
and tried them
my
out
work.
and, exactly.
And had a viewpoint on them and thought, well, yeah, these are working. And with vitamins and any supplements that you take, you expect a response pretty bloody quickly. You don't need to wait 3 months before you feel any different. You should notice, there should be some, depending on how connected you are to your body, but some feeling of uplift quickly.
Yeah, and just going back, we started right at the beginning about buying local, and this time of year where there's so much in our culture, there's so much in the shops that comes from all over the world, and we're looking to try and be a little more ecological, or maybe much more ecological actually. But I really love the idea that at any season in nature, there are things that are so beneficial to us. And still there's nettle, which is very high in vitamin C, isn't it?
And loads.
And the rose hip, of course, is really high as well.
Really high in vitamin C. In fact, Lambert vitamin C is made of rosehip.
Right.
So,
okay. So this is just for everyone, We might have to stop because I've got a frog in my throat.
Well, and what Natalia's point is very, very relevant. You don't need to buy supplements. Some people prefer to eat it in its rawest form, which is getting it directly from the plant. Supplements are just for people that have busy lives that don't have the time to do that, because it's better to have that than nothing at all. Right, we're going to close on that point. Spirit has decided to put a frog in Natalia's throat.
Literally,
Do you want a drink?
I'm just going to goodbye and go well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Sorry
happy
about that,
solstice and Merry Christmas from us.
Merry Christmas, yeah.